welcome to our latest 6-string supplies guitar wiring video tutorial. Today we're going to be doing a very popular setup. It's quite possibly one of the most simple setups out there. It's the Les Paul or SG Junior. So we're going to be showing you how to install one of our wiring kits if you choose to buy one, either on eBay or on our website. Website's better, obviously, thank you very much. So just to show you what you get two 500k short shaft pots, audio, one for volume, one for tone. Now those have both been measured on the multimeter for a bit of consistency. You get the ever slightly longer threaded Switchcraft jack socket. It gives you an extra 3mm as opposed to the standard one. Now these are used when you've got a slightly thicker guitar top, which is why you'll find them on SGs, Les Paul Juniors, SG Juniors, and in some Telecasters if you've got the cup jack plate. We give you an orange drop capacitor, 0.022, so we'll be using one of those. You can obviously upgrade if you choose to the paper and oil version, which is what we're going to be using in this video because it's for a customer harness. We do give you more wire than this, but you get about 3 foot of the braided guitar wire. This isn't 3 foot, this is about 1.5 foot, that's all I'll be using. And of course, as in many of our videos, we'll be using some 3.5mm diameter heat shrink tubing. Just to show you the setup here, I've got some masking tape which we'll be using. That's the template that we'll be putting it in. Some tinned copper. Now you don't need tinned copper, you can just use braided wire, remove the braid and remove the outer cloth. Got my solder, snippers, wire clippers, and the actual setup itself. I've got my soldering station with the cleaner there, a very feminine mug of coffee, and a load of wire, but we won't be using any of that, so. Okay, right, I've also got the wiring diagram up here in front of me, mainly to show you guys here. So as you'll see, you've got the volume, tone, capacitor. Your pickup is going to the input lug of the volume control, but we won't be installing that, unfortunately. But I just want to point this out. We're going to be wiring it using a single piece of braided wire that's going to run all the way from the output of the volume, get grounded against the tone control and connect into the jack. So we're going to start off as always. As you can see, I've loaded the 2 pots into this template I pre-prepared, of course. We're going to start off by doing a bit of tinning, a bit of grounding. So as per the diagram, excuse me, we're just going to start tinning the lugs of the pots that are going to be grounded and used. So basically we're going to be tinning lug 3, lug 2, excuse me. 1, 2, 3, that's the input, output, number 3. And then again on the tone control, we're going to be tinning the middle lug here, 2. And this one here, lug 3, 1, 2, 3, input, output, 3. So we'll just start putting a light tin of solder. Now when you're tinning lugs of pots like this, you put the soldering iron on the other side. Hold it up against the back of the lug. And then you apply your solder from the other side. And it just takes a light coat, a little dab. And all that's going to do is make it all a lot easier. Same on the tone control. So I'm going to be tinning this lug here. And the middle. Now what we also need to do is ground the 2 pots together. Oh, that there. As well as the lugs that need to get grounded against the pot. So if you look at your wiring diagram, this lug here needs to be grounded, as does the middle lug on the tone control there. So the easiest way of doing that is if you take, using some tinned copper, actually, Just going to tin the back of the pots first. So I'm going to hold the soldering iron there, just heat up the area, feed in some solder, spread it round. Same here, just offset the middle of the tone control. Okie dokie. Now, as I was saying, all we're going to do is feed this continuous length of tinned copper all the way through and solder it into place. Whilst grounding, the lugs. So we'll do this one first. Let them cool naturally. Okay, good stuff. Hold it down, feed your solder in, and remove. Let it cool naturally, don't blow in it of course. And we'll do the same again on this side. Heat the area. Feed in your solder. Now, because you've already tinned this area, it does make it a lot easier for a better joint. Hold it down. Jobs are good. Right then, just to summarise that, as you can see, you've got your two pots here, you've got your volume and your tone. The two lugs that need grounding, so your top lug here and the middle lug of the tone control have been grounded, and the two pots are grounded together, all from using this continual piece of tinned copper. Okay, so next we'll move on to the capacitor and the braided wire out to the jack. Okay, so moving on, we're going to do the capacitor and the output to the jack using the braided wire. Now, the output to the jack is the middle lug here, the output of the volume control, and that's where the capacitor goes as well. So take your braided wire, pull back the braid, it's about 1 inch, pull back the inner cloth wire bit as well, so that you reveal the inner cloth wire there. And that goes to the middle lug, as we just discussed, of the volume control. And that gets soldered in place with the capacitor. Stay still here. Okay, it's the capacitor. This yellow stuff here is just yellow heat shrink tubing. Again, it's 1.5mm diameter. All it does is to protect the leads from coming into contact with the top of the pot, which is the ground, and you don't want your capacitor grounded like that. So you put one end of it. These aren't polarised, so it doesn't matter which way around you put it. So we're going to put them both there on the middle lug of the volume. I'm going to solder that into place. Let it cool. And then the other lead is going to this lug here, the lower one on the tone control. So we'll just put that in there. B8. And then just fiddle it into place however you fancy. Right, so just to summarise that, you've got your capacitor going from the middle of the volume to the lower lug here on the tone. And the output to the jack is soldered to the middle lug here, the output of the volume with the cap. So now this is the braided wire which acts as the ground, runs all the way to the jack. So we're just going to put a little bit of rubber tubing on there. Just to cover it up there, because you don't want this braid coming into contact with this lug here especially. So use a heat gun, or if you're a cheapskate like me, a lighter, 99p from the local shop. Just to shrink that tube into place. I'm sure a lot of people will be having a whinge about me using a lighter. It's all within the budget. Right, so this outer braid now, the outer braid acts as the ground wire, so you need to connect that to the ground, which in this case is the side, or yeah, we'll put it to the side of the tone control here. So there's a couple of ways of doing that, but the first thing you need to do is just put a little bit of solder on there. Spread it around. Put a bit on the side of the pot as well. Beautiful. Now this is where your masking tape, again, it's all within the budget. You've got to make the most of what's available to you. This is where your masking tape comes in handy, because you need to hold this wire in place as you're soldering it, because it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, soldering braided wire to the specific, especially the side of a pot. So wrap it round and just tape it in place to keep it nice and secure. It only needs to hold for a few seconds, so there we go. Happy with that. And then you have to create a bridge between the wire and the pot. Just cleaning my solder tip because it's oxidising quite quick, which is not ideal. And just spread the solder around so you create a bridge between the pot and the jack, and the wire, excuse me. Then you remove your tape. All good. Now we're going to turn it over as well and just create a bridge on the underside. But as you can see there, just to summarise, output to the jack, so the braided wire, the inner wire goes to the middle lug, the volume, and it comes around. The outer braid gets braided to the tone control, and then this runs all the way to the jack. Right then, so moving on to the final part is to connect everything to the jack. And I've actually done a little bit of work off camera here because it's very fiddly, can take up to 10 minutes. Bit of swearing involved, so I thought I'd save you the pain of that. But just to show you what I have done, after the braid has been grounded to the side of the pot there, I've also done it a little bit on the underside. I don't think, yeah, you can just about see that. But then I've also covered the rest of the outer braid in rubber tubing. Again, just provides a bit of insulation. You don't really want the ground, especially when it's inside your guitar, hitting any of these, the capacitor for example, or the lugs that your pickup might be connected to. But what I've done there is I've unravelled, I've cut away the outer braid on the end. I've pulled the braids back and I've twisted them, so I'm stuck with this little ledge here, this little snippet of wire, and that's what we're going to be grounding to the jack. And the output, I've pulled back the inner cloth wire, and the revealed wire here, the inner wire, will be going to the output to the jack. So I've got my jack here, I've just tinned these lugs. So the inner ring there, this inner ring is the ground, and the other one's the output. So we can do the output first. So I'll just show you how we'll do that one quickly. Feed the wire through the output lug. Actually, I'm just going to put a bit of rubber tubing on there first. I'll show you why very quickly. Right, so feed that through and solder into place. It's moving around a bit, which is not ideal. Cool. Let that cool naturally. I'll just trim that. And then this rubber tubing I've just put up, this tiny bit I'm going to feed back down just to cover that lug. All good. Again, if you're a cheapskate, use a lighter. Just to shrink that tubing into place. Okay. So the final piece of the puzzle. So there you go, that's the inner wire that's connected to the output lug, and I've got this ledge here of the outer braid which we're going to connect to the ground lug in there. But just before we do that, I'm just going to tin it a little bit. Having already tinned the ground lug of the jack, solder. Right, so we're going to feed that into the lug of the ground lug of the jack, and we're going to solder that into place. Oops, excuse me. Beautiful. So as you can see, we've got the outer braid connected to the ground lug. It's gone through. I'll just give it a little snip. and I've also built a bridge from the two there. So there you have it. Pre-wired Les Paul kit. How to wire a Les Paul Junior using a single piece of braided wire running from the output to the jack, output and the volume control all the way to the jack, grounding both parts, and your capacitor of choice there. So thanks for watching. Any questions, comments, or criticisms, leave a message down below or comment and we'll get back to you in due course. Otherwise, thank you very much.